No, this is a school, not an organization. Being a student leader is a privilege. So if all of you have settled for Kamene, Kamene it is.
Thank you, Madimo. I might be soft on the outside, you guys, but inside, I am tough.
Only Andy will meet at the mall. Is you really?
Pay me in Kenyan shillings, bwana.
Mr. Tisha. I'm hoping it's a John.
The future is hands-on, and Sensei College is at the front line of technical institutes in Kenya, offering practical and skill-based courses accredited by all concerned bodies, TVETA, NTSA and NITA. Sensei College offers driving and plant operator, cosmetology, fashion and design, mechanics, hydroponics and irrigation, installation, building construction, hospitality, photography and video production, electrical and electronics repairs, and ICT courses. Get free plant operator training when you enroll for plant mechanics, free driving when you enroll for motor vehicle mechanics, and free riding when you enroll for motorcycle mechanics. The requirement is an ID only, with intakes every first week of the month. We have 2 campuses in Nakuru and Nairobi. We provide meals and accommodation. Sensei College. My skills, my future.
Good evening. Now back to school for day primary schools and secondary schools within 3 counties of Kisumu, Mombasa and Nairobi after government assured security and safety of learners. It had taken precautionary measures as the anti-government protest led by opposition entered day 1 today. This is Prime Edition.
And of course, it has been a day of grandstanding between police and protesters, and you could say probably police succeeded in putting them away from accessing some of the areas that had been said to be areas of demonstration. You're talking about Kibra, you're talking about Kamkunji as well as Jacaranda Grounds in Nairobi's Eastlands. But obviously, as the opposition began their first day of the 3-day series, Maandamano or demonstrations, the question that we ask tonight is it possible to have a truce between the administration led by President William Ruto and the opposition led by Raila Odinga? That conversation will be coming a little bit later. We'll be engaging Dr. Hassan Kinyo Omari, who is a lecturer in religious studies and of course also a religious leader, as well as engineer Kirago Shege, a member of parliament for Limuru. Is it possible to have a truce in this crisis?
But first things first, let's have a look at the highlights.
There is no justification whatsoever for anybody who believes they believe in democracy and rule of law for them to use violence and chaos to destroy people's property, to cause loss of life, to destroy public property in the name of demonstration.
It is an exercise in futility. President William Ruto's take on the ongoing anti-government protests. Deaths, injuries and bonfires mark the start of a 3-day series of Azimio demos.
We still ask the Right Honorable and His Excellency the President to open that door We are sitting waiting.
And Catholic bishops and other stakeholders push for a truce, warning against political grandstanding. And Wangeshi is a sign language interpreter. My name is John Jacob Kioria. Welcome to the broadcast.
And I am Regina Manyara.
President William Ruto has dismissed the opposition-driven protests as an exercise in futility.
Speaking in Kericho County, the head of state said the solution to the high cost of living lies in the strategic economic planning by the Kenya Kwanza government and not in street protests.
Anaitwa nani?
President William Ruto was in Ainamoi constituency in Kericho County, where he commissioned the 1.2 billion shillings Kimugu Water Project, an initiative of the Kericho County government and the national government. The head of state further used the opportunity to lash out at the opposition, accusing Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition leader Raila Odinga and his brigade of derailing Kenya Kwanza government's development agenda and attempting to create what he termed as a state of anarchy.
Mimi nataka niwaambie wale wanatuletea fujo, tafadhali. Kama mko na matatizo, kuna njia ya kisheria ya kuendelea. Tulikubaliana na wao ya kwamba tuongee. Sijui kama tunaelewana. Wakawacha mambo ya kuongea, wakaenda kufanya vita.
President Ruto observed that the opposition-led protests will not lower the cost of living.
We must protect our country. We must protect our democracy by making sure that our politics is devoid of violence or chaos or destruction of private business or destruction of public property.
President Ruto was accompanied by his deputy Rigathi Gachagua, among other government officials who equally told of the opposition over the anti-government protests.
Kwa wakati huu kiongozi wa Kenya ni mmoja, anaitwa nani? Anaitwa nani? Hawa wa jamaa wamezoea kuja kwa serikali kupitia juu ya fujo.
Sisi wote kama wa Kenya tutii katiba, tutii sheria na tuweke amani.
He then proceeded to Narok County, where he opened the Olesharo Secondary School.
Mpango yetu ni kuhakikisha kwamba kila mtoto wa Kenya anapata nafasi ya kusoma. Na ndio nimefika hapa leo kufungua hii shule. Kwa sababu hii shule na shule zingine zote za taifa letu la Kenya ni ya muhimu. Na ni ya muhimu kwa wazazi, ni ya muhimu kwa serikali.
Kasi Chanamasha, Prime Edition.
Let's focus on the situation across the country. Of course, as the opposition began its protests, one person has died from a gunshot wound in Makueni County, with another admitted to the Makueni Referral Hospital, nursing gunshot wounds following the anti-government protests in Kasarani, Makueni County.
In Migori County, 2 men were nursing injuries at Migori County Referral Hospital after allegedly being shot during the protests.
The anti-government protest in Makueni County turned tragic after a man was shot in the chest and died when police clashed with protesters in Watertown. His colleague sustained a gunshot wound on his arm during the incident. Transportation was also paralyzed for the better part of the morning as business remained closed throughout Emali town. In Migori County, 2 men were shot, one on the left leg and the other on the right thigh. It is alleged that the 2 were not part of the protests and claimed they were going about their daily activities in Oruba on the outskirts of Migori town.
We've received 2 patients with gunshot wounds. One at the thigh, left thigh, and another one at the right foot. Okay, they have received the treatment that they would get, and therefore we are to refer them to Migori County Referral Hospital.
A lady is also admitted at the Migori Referral Hospital together with the two men after a tear gun canister was lobbed into her house.
Ni mama ambaye alikuwa kwa nyumba, alikuwa anafanya tu shughuli zake za kawaida na alikuwa pamoja na watoto pale nyumbani. Bahati mbaya polisi wakaangusha tear gas pale kwa nyumba, akaona ni kama kuna giza, baadaye ndiye akaletwa hospitali.
A section of residents of Migori have faulted the police for excessive force as they demonstrated in the town.
Kwa uhuru wa kuandamana. Maandamano iko kwa katiba.
Sisi kila wakati tunafanya maandamano ya amani. Polisi ambao wameletwa hapa tumeelewa ya kwamba ni polisi ambao wametoka mbali, sio wale wa Migori wa kawaida, na kuna wale pia wa Migori ambaye wamesimama kuonyesha wale wageni pahali ambapo tumekaa na vitu ambazo tunafanya.
For Prime Edition, I'm Ben Troinjue.
Azimio la Umoja One Kenya coalition has condemned the arrest of its leaders and their close associates, terming them as unjustified.
In a statement, the opposition leadership demanded respect for the constitution, saying the unlawful detention of those arrested and excessive use of force by police to disperse peaceful demonstrators violates the constitution.
As the country woke up to the first day of the 3-day anti-government protest planned by the opposition to pressure the government to lower the cost of living, the coalition was jolted by the arrest of some of their lieutenants. Last night, Embakasi East MP Babu Owino was arrested by police and his whereabouts remain unknown.
Hakuna taasisi ya serikali yoyote ambayo haielewi ya kwamba Kenya is holding a peaceful demonstration Wednesday and Thursday.
And on Wednesday, Kilifi South MP Ken Chonga and the County Assembly Speaker Teddy Mwambire were arrested in Mtwapa, Kilifi County. In Nairobi County, members of the County Assembly Wilfred Odalo of Mabatini, Redson Onyango of Ngeiward, as well as budgets officers Eric Otieno and Anthony Otsula were arrested and held in undisclosed locations. Also arrested were Raila Odinga's close associates Maurice Ogeta and Dennis Onyango, who were later released. In Kibra, 4 people were arrested following running battles between demonstrators and the police officers. Michael Moniga for Prime Edition.
And of course, the calls for reconciliation continue to reverberate because the Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has called for the cessation of the grandstanding by government and the opposition, urging them to instead embrace dialogue and peace.
The leaders say they are ready to broker a truce between President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga if both sides of the political divide are willing to come to the table.
Here's our reporter Abdiaziz Hoshim with the details.
The Kenya Conference of Catholic Bishops has added its voice to the clarion call for meaningful, peaceful talks to resolve the stalemate between the government and the opposition.
But as Kenyans, wherever we are, we should be saying the same thing. Guys, let's get back to out of the streets. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to sorting ourselves out.
Speaking in Nairobi, the clerics say they are ready to broker a truce between President William Ruto and opposition leader Raila Odinga.
The interreligious leaders met and they're meeting. They have been waiting for that door to open. We still ask the Right Honorable and His Excellency the President to open that door. We are sitting waiting.
The bishops further urge the state to listen to the plea of Kenyans and withdraw the Finance Bill 2023. Meanwhile, the Coast Interfaith Council of Clerics and Kaya elders from the Coast region have condemned the violence witnessed in the anti-government protests that have resulted in deaths and destruction of property.
Tumesema ya kwamba tunalaani vikali jambo hili la maandamano. Tunajua liko katika katiba na inakubalika, lakini tunacholaani ni ule uharibifu wa mali, fujo, mauaji.
Ombi yetu kwa viongozi wetu kwanza ni ya kwamba waje wakae chini ili sintofahamu hali ya joto ambayo kwamba tunaishuhudia katika nchi yetu iwe itakuwa ni yenye kurudi chini.
Demonstration will not bring the prices of commodities down, but dialogue will. Demonstrations will not bring Kenyans together, but dialogue will.
The Commission on Administrative Justice also called for dialogue regretting the unfortunate loss of lives and destruction of property. CAJ Chairperson Florence Kajuju urged law enforcement agencies to adhere to the Constitution, respect human rights and refrain from the use of disproportionate force, even as she called upon protesters to picket peacefully. Abdiaziz Hashim for Prime Edition.
Of course, that story by Abdiaziz Hashim will be forming the basis of a conversation tonight. We'll be speaking to Dr. Hassan Kinyo Omari, a religious leader as well as a religious lecturer, as well as Engineer Kirago Shega, the Member of Parliament for Limuru. And the question is a truce possible in the matter we are dealing with currently? That will be the big question tonight.
I think it is.
What's that?
I brought you a small bonus.
Bonus for what?
You got us 299 family dinners, 64 kisses on the cheek, 12 road trips to see grandma, 42 jokes from daddy, 49 laughs from mommy.
In over 60 years of dealing with numbers, we've learned that the numbers that matter the most to you are the ones that matter the most to us. NCBA Bank. Go for it.
먼저 이기는 사람이 승자. 아참, 우리 신미호는 지면은 뭐 주실란가?
하긴 우리 쪽도 거는 게 있어야겠죠.
내 손모가지로 간다. 됐냐?
안 됩니다. 기도하셔야 하는데.
길이를 해도 넌 안 끝나버리게요.
Welcome back. You're watching Prime Edition.
Now, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs is calling on Kenya's development partners to closely monitor the utterances opposition leaders are making in the ongoing anti-government protests with a view to cancelling their visas.
Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua claims Kenya's global standing remains favourable and has not been dented by the ongoing demonstrations, which he claims are the opposition's attempt to join government through the back door. Foreign and Diaspora Affairs Cabinet Secretary Alfred Mutua claims Kenya remains a favourite destination for tourists and international investors, a situation that could be dented by the ongoing street protests.
I'd like to say that to everybody that Kenya is still open and will always be open for business, because as a government we continue to position our country as a preferred trade, investment and tourism destination. The truth is that, however, these efforts are being derailed by economic saboteurs disguised as protest against the cost of living.
The Cabinet Secretary is calling on Kenya's development partners to monitor utterances by key opposition figures that he claims are inciting and take appropriate action.
We urge our international friends to closely scrutinize the architects of the insurrection and anti-democratic elements when they wish to visit their countries and not allow some of them to go and taint their democratic principles.
The minister denied that a joint statement issued by the European Union ambassadors and the US ambassador on the crisis was an attempt to mediate.
There's no mediation that they're doing anyway. They're not in a position to do any mediation. That's not their role. But they're trying to help and say that they are watching. And they're not only talking about Kenya as the Kenyan government, they are closely watching.
The Ministry of Foreign Affairs has since sent a protest letter and accuses the rights body of misrepresenting the situation in Kenya, which it describes as the opposition's attempt to join government through the back door. A week ago, the UN's Office of the High Commissioner for Human Rights issued a statement appearing to condemn police response to the demonstrations.
Who are those 23 people who they say died? I'd like to know them, their names and others. So they're just throwing names and figures out there. You know, that is bad manners for an organization of such stature.
Meanwhile, United Democratic Alliance UDA Secretary General Cleopas Malala has called on the opposition to allow the government time to deal with the cost of living. Malala, who led pro-government demonstrations in Kakamega County, says the government will not succumb to what he termed as bullying by the opposition leader Raila Odinga.
Yeye ameingia juzi katika ofisi, apewe nafasi afanye kazi yake kama rais wa Jamhuri ya Kenya. Mambo ya kumtisha kwamba mnataka kuleta maandamano ndio mpate handshake. Watu wa Kakamega wamesema hawataki maneno ya handshake.
Similar sentiments reverberated in Nanyuki when former Laikipia County Woman Representative Catherine Waruguru led pro-government protests in Nanyuki town, condemning the anti-government demos, terming them a self-seeking venture.
Tujaona mkiita mkutano tuzungumzie uchumi na jinsi tutasaidia William Ruto kujenga uchumi wa Kenya.
Wao kazi yao ni kuharibu, wako na hangover ya vile walishindwa katika uchaguzi, bado they are assuming kutakuwa na nusu mkate ama kuna chances ya kwamba watoe serikali waingie.
Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary Professor Edward Kisiangani says the government has no intention of gagging the media, but is only seeking responsible journalism.
Speaking in Naivasha, Professor Kisiangani said the government was open to positive criticism, but the media must remain neutral, a neutral umpire in the political arena and not a conveyor belt of the opposition agenda.
Professor Kisiangani, who was addressing public communication officers in Naivasha, made it clear that the government was fully committed to a free media, which must be practiced in a fair field.
Nobody, I emphasize, in our ministry or in government should ever criminalize the character of another because of they made choices that you don't agree with. In your State Department of Broadcasting, will continue to support initiatives and the partnerships like the one we have with the Media Council to improve your performance.
The Broadcasting and Telecommunications Principal Secretary emphasized the importance of communication in effective governance and public administration. Other peers lashing out at the opposition for the ongoing demonstration that have left a trail of deaths and destruction, saying there was need for engagement between the state and the media in a bid to diffuse the current in-person differences, as protests will not solve the current high cost of living.
The communication item, there is no room for it. There is also no room for anarchy and a disorder in Kenya. You have seen what government is doing. The disturbances you have been watching happen in our country will come to an end. So tell our people, there's no room for panic.
Professor Kisiangani admitted that the country had challenges, but was quick to know that the president was fully in charge and that there was no room for anarchy. The PS challenged public communications officers in the various state departments to sell the government agenda to the public.
In terms of communication, you think that the people who took away your money through BPI will serve you. That is the Stockholm Syndrome. They have come back 7 months later to say they can serve you, and you continue with that narrative. These are questions that media should be asking. Stockholm Syndrome.
The CEO Media Council of Kenya, David Omoyo, noted that accessing government information was the main challenge currently facing the media.
So what we receive mostly from government, departments, agencies and ministries is a complaint about misrepresentation, no facts and all that, isn't it? And the media says, tuliuliza hawakusema kitu, isn't it? So we need to try to establish those formal channels, especially regular round tables with media and all that.
The government has directed that all-day primary and secondary schools in Kisumu, Mombasa and Nairobi counties be reopened on Thursday.
The government said it has taken measures to ensure the safety of learners.
The government had closed all-day primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu cities on Wednesday over a protest called by Azimio la Umoja One Kenya Alliance.
In a joint statement by Cabinet Secretaries Interior Kithure Kindiki and Education Ezekiel Machogu said their ministries decided to reopen schools in the 3 counties after evaluating the current security situation. They stated, and I quote, "On the basis of the evaluation, it is hereby directed that all-day primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu counties reopen for normal school activities on 20th July 2023. The government has taken adequate measures to guarantee the safety and security of learners and their schools across the country." On Wednesday, all public day primary and secondary schools in Nairobi, Mombasa and Kisumu counties were deserted following the government security advisory owing to the protests. A spot check by KBC Channel 1 found many schools deserted as learners and teachers and most of the non-teaching staff remained at home. At Moi Avenue Primary School, all classrooms were closed.
Hali imetulia lakini hakuna watoto, kuna walimu. Jinsi ya hii maandamano vile unaona na vile unajua shule iko katikati ya CBD, tear gas mimi huwa inaathiri watoto.
The situation was the same at the nearby City Primary School as learning came to a halt. Day schools in Mombasa County remained closed in compliance with the government directive to ensure the safety of learners. Beatrice Gatonyangetich, Prime Edition.
One obviously hopes that normalcy will return in our schools. But elsewhere, most parts of Nairobi County remained relatively peaceful as Azimio's 3 days of demos began Wednesday morning.
However, police engaged protesters in running battles for the larger part of the day in Kamukonji, where one person was allegedly shot dead by police.
Police, however, contained the situation at Jacaranda grounds.
The 3-day anti-government protest called by the opposition Azimio outfit began Wednesday with skirmishes reported in Nairobi's Kamukunji, Mathare and Kibra informal settlements. At Kamukunji grounds, demonstrators hurled stones at police officers who in turn threw tear gas canisters to disperse them and prevent them from making their way to the city centre. Several protesters were arrested, with one person allegedly shot dead by police. A similar situation was witnessed in Kibra as police and protesters engaged in a cat and mouse game. Several people, including the police, were injured in the clashes. At Jacaranda grounds in Embakasi East constituency, police successfully managed to keep off the youths from accessing the grounds. Police also put up roadblocks as they manned roads leading to State House. Giverson Minor, Prime Edition.
So let's focus on the situation across the counties, and bonfires were lit on several roads in Kisumu town in the wake of the anti-government protests, bringing business activities to a standstill.
In Kisii, protests daraja mbili along Kisii-Migori Kisumu Road before normalcy returned to the town in the afternoon.
Irene Mchumodim has the details.
Kisumu town remained deserted Wednesday as police engaged protesters in running battles. At Kondele, protesters defied police orders to disperse and instead lit bonfires on several roads. Similar protest rocked Migori County, leaving 3 people nursing bullet wounds at Migori County Referral Hospital. One more person was separately rushed for treatment after she suffocated from tear gas in her house. In Kisii, a section of residents held peaceful demonstrations and commended the police for refraining from clashing with them. Other protesters, however, lit bonfires along the Kisii-Migori Road in the morning before normalcy returned to the town in the afternoon.
Kwa upande yetu kama wanapotapota hatujafanya kazi, lakini kitu ninaomba tuombee nchi yetu ya Kenya. Kwa upande ya maaskari wamekuwa watulivu, hata wenzetu tulikuwa ambao maandamano ya amani, hatuchaona kitu ambao inaleta furugo au kuchoma barabara. Watu wetu ninawaomba tufanye maandamano ya amani.
In Kitengela, Kajiado County, business was brought to a standstill Wednesday morning with heavy police officers' presence in the area to avert mayhem. A few public service vehicles were operating as boda riders felt the pinch of low business. In Garissa, a section of residents urged the opposition to call off the protests and resort to peaceful mechanisms in addressing concerns on the high cost of living. Sentiments echoed by their counterparts in Busia County, who urged the political class to resort to amicable solutions to the political standoff. Most of the shops in Busia town, however, remained closed Wednesday.
Kazi iko chini. Ni kwa sababu watu wa Busia bado wako na wasiwasi. Lakini nataka nishukuru ya kwamba kuna amani, hakuna leo mchafuko. Zaidi ya yote, naomba tu rais wetu wa Kenya pamoja na kiongozi wa upinzani waweze kukaa pamoja, wakubaliane ili Kenya mzima iwe na amani.
Irene Mchuma Udim, the Prime Edition.
Now, meanwhile, in Mombasa County, police engaged protesters in running battles, lobbing tear gas canisters to disperse crowds that had converged in various locations within Mombasa's Central Business District and its environs.
Anburu has that report.
Thursday morning, most shops in Mombasa County remained closed even as residents went about their daily routine. There was a heavy police presence to ensure the port city remained calm despite the calls for anti-government protests. However, by mid-morning, protesters converged in different parts of Mombasa, burning tires on the roadside and engaging the police in running battles. At Bangladesh area along the Mombasa-Nairobi highway, the demonstrators lamented excessive force used by the police. They remained relentless, saying the protests will continue on Thursday.
Sisi hatuna shida na mapolisi. Mapolisi tumeishi na wao hapa katika Mikindani, hatuna wasama na wao. Tunaomba kwamba kesho watu wache tuandamane kwa amani, na hivi sasa bado tunatafuta strategy ya kuingia kwa maandamano ambayo itagonga nchi.
Nimeona mapolisi wanarushia tear gas watoto wa shule, na watu wenye walikuwa wanaandamana wamefukushwa, wametoroka mpaka kule kwa bahari. So that is not something which is good. Unajua hata wewe ukiwa ndani ya nyumba yako na umekaza paka, huyo paka anaweza kukuaruza. So that is what I see here today. It is not pleasing, and mimi I'm begging the government wasitumie force kupita kiasi.
At the same time, residents called on President William Ruto and Raila Odinga to dialogue and find a solution to the impasse. For Prime Edition from Mombasa County, I am Anburu.
Back in Nairobi, most parts of the Central Business District and its environs remain deserted as the public protests took a toll on the city's economy.
Most businesses remain closed, fearing the violence and looting that has been witnessed during the last public protest called by Azimio la Umoja Coalition.
Our reporter Fred Mwoki was tracking business activities in the city and has the following report.
Deserted streets, empty walkways and shuttered shops characterize Nairobi's city center and its environs. The city, which is the main economic, diplomatic and political hub in the region, has become the epicenter of the public demonstrations, with police engaging in running battles with irate protesters. Being midweek, the city is always buzzing with activities as millions of people throng the city for business or leisure. Nairobi County is Kenya's economic heartbeat, controlling almost 30% of Kenya's gross domestic product. The streets of the city that are always teeming with endemic traffic snarl-ups were quiet and clear. Traders in the city now want the government and opposition leaders to work together to find a long-lasting solution to deal with the ongoing business disruptions.
Usianga hapo Uhuru Park. Kwa siku ya leo tumeafektiwa. Hakuna kazi yenye inaendelea. Huwa tunauza battery, hakuna kitu yenye inaendelea.
Sasa watoto wako kwa nyumba.
mkiniambia nikaa kwa nyumba hivi nisitoke nje, hao watoto watakula nini? Tutaangaliana na watoto? Hatuwezi angaliana na watoto.
Wakutane tu waongee. Rais, kama unaweza nisikiza mimi hapa nikiwa hapa CBD, legeza tu, acha kuwa na hao watu wengine wenye kuconvince kukua rais kidogo, kwa kukutana na mzee Raila Amolo Odinga.
By the time of going to press, there was no official statement from the Kenya Private Sector Alliance, Kenya Association of Manufacturers, or the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce and Industries on the impact of the public demonstrations on the local economy. But once this is sure, businesses are feeling the heat of the ongoing political stalemate.
Leo hakuna kitu nimeuza. A day, I'm making more than 5,000. Kiendelea hivi, tunaenda nyumbani, tunaenda kulima, kuna kitu ingine.
Sasa kama sasa hii leo nilikuwa nikipata 10k, lakini leo nimepata hasara, hakuna pesa mkubwa. Sasa hakuna pesa, nimeuza hata kiatu moja na ingine. Hakuna biashara huku.
Leo sijabeba hata moja, sijabeba.
A majority of entrepreneurs within the Nairobi CBD are worried that if the plant demos go for the next 2 days, there are worries of a reduction on the cash flow, which might turn the Kenya's economy into a downturn. Reporting from Prime Edition from Nairobi, my name is Frederick Mwoki.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial *570# wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial *570#. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Laiti kama ningekujua wewe kuwa ni muongo na mnafiki, nisingekukaribia kabisa.
Bado sijai kuficha utu wangu. Kwa hiyo usiseme kuwa ulikuwa unijui. Toka umerudi safari, haujafika ofisini kabisa.
Jamani, wenyewe na wivu wao. Watu wacha tunenepe kwa amani.
Hebu nisaidie tukiungana. Wewe huna roho safi, huna watoto kwako, huna brothers. Roho safi kwa muuaji.
Na kuonya. Stay away from my husband.
Welcome back. Once more, you're watching the Prime Edition. And of course, at the tail end of a broadcast, we'll be having a conversation on whether a truce is possible in the ongoing crisis in the country. And we'll be talking to Engineer Kirago Shege, the Member of Parliament for Limuru, and Dr. Hassan Kinyua Omari, who is a religious leader. But to take us forward.
Indeed. Now, political activist Shadrach Omondi Orwa, alias Omosh Jakababa, who has been in custody for more than 1 week, has been released on a cash bail of 50,000 shillings or a bond of 100,000 shillings.
Principal Magistrate Gilbert Shikwe ordered the matter to be mentioned on the 2nd of August.
This and more from our Scales of Justice segment.
Political activist Omosh Jakababa could not hide his joy after the court finally released him after spending close to 9 days in custody. His lawyer had pleaded with the court to release him on a 5,000 shillings bond, saying he should not be punished to settle political scores.
He's a young man fighting for everybody in this country. Fighting for the cost of living and fighting for the excesses of the country. See him from that angle.
According to the charge sheet, Jakababa is accused of threatening and using abusive words in a public gathering.
Baba, enda Russia, tuletea bunduki. Maskari wote wakae raia. Kila mtu apewe bunduki yake, tuingie State House. Ukiwa na nia ya kuweza kuifuruga ama kuharibu amani.
For a cash bill of 50,000 shillings with 2 contact persons. And
The pre-trial direction shall be done on the 2nd of August.
Elsewhere, day 3 of cross-examination of Okoth Obado's murder case saw defense lawyers argue that the former Migori governor did not have a motive to kill the late Sharon Otieno since he had already agreed to cater for her.
Mr. Yamo, as the governor's PA, had told you ABCD has come from the governor, you would believe that. Because it's the governor's PA, right? Yes. And especially on a sensitive issue, you would believe it.
The chief witness, Lawrence Muller, was put to task to explain why he doubted whether Obado had given his personal assistant, Michael Oyamo, 200,000 shillings to give to Sharon Otieno. Pre-trial hearing continues Thursday.
To know exactly if he was given only 200,000.
That is good. That's the answer you gave. Yes. And I really like you for that because you said, I wanted to inquire from him so that if he's given much more, he tells me so that I don't chomea for him. But that's what he said, right?
And the defense counsel shall only cross-examine the witness to the limitation of any evidence that may not have been cross-examined on or brought out by the prosecution.
And the High Court in Mombasa County had ordered for the deportation of jailed British national Jermaine John Grant upon completion of his sentence. Justice Anne Ongijo directed relevant authorities to institute his deportation in accordance with the Kenyan Citizenship and Immigration Act. The Director of Public Prosecutions filed application stating that the deportation order had not been issued when Grant was sentenced by the lower court.
A section of leaders in Limuru, Kiambu County has vowed to protect public land and property from land grabs.
This follows a public outcry over the alleged grabbing of a parcel of land belonging to the Public Research Center at Ngararinga village along the Nairobi-Nakuru highway.
Leaders in Limuru constituency in Kiambu County have vowed to help authorities bring to book individuals who are on a mission to grab public land.
Mtu ataiba shamba ya wananchi ati sijui nini, alafu apange, alafu next time tutasikia watu wanajenga maflat hapa. Ile tunasema mali ya wananchi tutailinda. Kama kuna mpango yoyote ni lazima wananchi waulizwe, kwa sababu hiyo ndio utaratibu. Uliza wananchi wanataka nini, alafu watakupatia mawaidha yao.
Still on land matters, a widow in Ruai, Nairobi County, is pleading with the government to help her repossess a piece of land that she claims has been taken away by a private developer. She says that her late husband bought the land parcel years back from the Embakasi Ranching Company before his demise.
Mimi ni mjane, niko na watoto. Mzee aliaga na akaniwacha na watoto wako shule. Na wakati huo nilikuwa nataka hiyo plot yangu nipeane ndio nilipie watoto school fees. Hadi waleo sijawahi pata. Basi serikali nisaidie, ndio mimi niko na original makaratasi. Unaona plot yangu imejengwa. Sijui mwenye amejenga kama yeye ndio amepewa title deed ama bado title deed ni yangu, lakini ile kuomba naomba serikali ni haki yangu nipate.
Elsewhere, residents surrounding Karimenu 2 Dam in Ruiru, Kiambu County are up in arms over the lack of proper infrastructure. They have cited the lack of roads, water and bridges as an impediment to their livelihoods.
Watupea yani msaada ya kutengeneza hii daraja, sababu hii inabakia kama wiki mbili ama wiki moja iende. Hasa ikienda tutafanya mna gani?
Kwa hivyo tunaomba serikali kuu na serikali ya kaunti itujengee barabara ya kutoka Gadhaje kufuka Getuaba, itujengee barabara ya kutoka Gadhaje kufuka Kanyoni.
Finally, Ngiroriti Primary School in Mukokodo Division, Laikipia North, is grappling with lack of adequate classrooms and teachers. This school, despite being a public institution, has allegedly not been receiving enough funding from the government.
Kama tungekuwa na darasa ingine, ingekuwa afadhali, kwa sababu kuna hata wakati tunashanganya. Kwa sababu tunashanganya wakati ya mvua na wakati pia ya baridi.
Persai Frederick, Prime Edition.
All right, it's time for us now to take another breather. When we come back, Betty Kiptum is up next with business news.
Cheza Loto Moto. Sasa unaweza jishindia instantly na Loto Moto. Dial star 570 hash. Wakati wowote, siku yoyote ya wiki na mahali popote. Dial star 570 hash. Kisha chagua moja kati ya games za Loto Moto. Weka stakes zako 50 shillings, 300, 500, 2,000 shillings. The bigger your stake, the greater or the bigger your prizes. Cheza mara kadhaa na kumbuka, cheza responsibly. 18 years and above. Cheza Loto Moto.
Heard you perfectly, Malena. You said that you were not going to have a son. Amparo, don't do anything that you could regret later on. The only one who's going to regret something is my father.
Give me what I want. I've been waiting for this for so long, and I won't take no for an answer.
And if you're done here, I insist that you just leave right now.
May I know who you are?
Yes. I'm the mother of Marisol and the wife of Alonso Cáceres.
Las Bandidas.
A very good evening to you. Thank you for keeping it Prime Edition on Channel 1. My name is Betty Kiptum. Let's get the latest in the world of business. Now, trading at the Nairobi Bulls was depressed during day one of the three-day opposition-led anti-government protests. The number of traded shares plummeted to 3.1 million on Wednesday from 11.1 million shares traded on Tuesday. On the other hand, the shilling maintained its weakening streak against the dollar to close at 141 shillings and 75 cents from 141 shillings and 60 cents held on Tuesday.
A slow and cautious start to the day in the Central Business District as the public avoided the city of Nairobi amid fears of violent protests. The public anxiety was reflected on the Nairobi Securities Exchange, with all the market counters registering depressed activities. By the close of business Wednesday, share trade volumes dipped to 3.1 million from 11.1 million recorded Tuesday at the local bourse that has seen major investor flight in the last 1 year. The NSE All-Share Index was down 1.33 points to close at 111.63, while the NSE 20-Share Index dipped 13.48 points to close at 1,627.60. The main market of the NSE 25 share index was down 22.04 points to close at 2,892.38. This performance resulted in a decline in equity turnover of 58.8 million against 270.6 million traded on Tuesday. On the other hand, the shilling maintained a losing streak against the greenback to close at 141 shillings and 75 cents. According to EFG Hermes research, the current global demand for the dollar is likely to lead to an extension of the shilling's weakening streak that has been recorded from January to the end of the year, pushing the shilling to about 150 shillings against the dollar. Experts warn the high levels of political instability in the recent months is likely to increase the country's risk profile in the eyes of international investors, reducing demand for the shilling.
Now, the government has emphasized its commitment to reduce the cost of data to boost e-commerce and create jobs online. Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo, who spoke while launching a free government Wi-Fi hotspot and a Jitume digital lab in Igembe Boys High School in Meru, noted that online internet connectivity and affordability is key to delivering government services, 5,000 of which have been digitized.
That will see 25,000 Wi-Fi hotspots installed in the 47 counties and 1,450 Jitume centers unveiled. Information, Communication and Digital Economy Cabinet Secretary Eliud Owalo says the ministry will position Kenya as a digital hub in line with the digital transformation agenda and the bottom-up economic transformation agenda.
Tutafanya kazi na county governments ili tuhakikishe kwamba katika kila soko tuko na wifi ya bure kusaidia vijana, kusaidia wakina mama. Tena katika kila ward tutakuwa na digital laboratory, tutaweka kompyuta na tutaleta walimu ya kufunzisha vijana wetu na wasichana wetu ili wapate mafunzo ya kiteknolojia.
He noted the launch of a free government Wi-Fi hotspot and a Jitume digital lab in Igembe Boys High School in Meru will help the youth in the area access online jobs and to do business.
Kazi ambayo tuko nayo kwa sasa ni kazi ya kutumia akili na kompyuta. Tutasaidia vijana wetu kupata kazi katika digital space.
Akina mama mboga, vijana wa bonda na wa matatu waweze kuingia kwa internet, waweze kujisomea huko, waweze kujiunganisha na taifa yale mengine ya dunia. Hii ndio kazi inatakikana katika Kenya.
Naweza piga viatu picha, natumia wale wako Nairobi, kama ni hiyo vitu wanaasesi wanaangalia, naye wananitumia zile wako nazo. Sasa na mimi naangalia na napeana onda yangu.
With more than 5,000 government services accessible online, the public Wi-Fi hotspots are saving on cost of data, time and the cost of doing business for most Kenyans.
Dunia ya leo, kila kitu lazima ufanye kwa njia ya teknolojia, digital.
On digital laboratories, Owalo said the students will get technology-related knowledge, while the young people in Igembe Ward will learn on various technological issues and solutions. Wali Mujenga for Prime Edition.
And agrochemical manufacturer Osho Chemicals has launched an expansion plan targeting Rwanda, Burundi and Ethiopia. The company says it will invest more than 8 billion shillings to expand its regional footprint. Osho Chemicals chair Manoj Shah says the company plans to recruit over 6,000 distributors and stockists in the region as part of its expansion plan.
According to the Agrochemicals Association of Kenya, the agrochemical market size in Africa is expected to grow from 1 trillion shillings in 2022 to 1.3 trillion shillings in the next 5 years. The growth will be led by major agrochemical players on the continent, led by South Africa, Egypt, Morocco, Kenya, Nigeria, and Algeria. In Kenya, major producers and manufacturers of agrochemicals are lining up to expand their operations in the region.
The more stockists we create, the more we can expand positively. It is just not for Osho, because our stockists or our distributors are having very many channels. So everybody as a sector will grow in that space. If we keep the farmer in our mind and focused, we will need sub-stockists, stockists, distributors, and safe and usable products to reach them.
Osho Chemical, which is a manufacturer and marketer as well as a distributor of agro, animal health, public health products and industrial chemicals, plan to grow its operations in the region by tapping Ethiopia, Rwanda and Burundi.
If you look at the number of products available, also crowded, this is why this conference is very critical, to build a huge capacity for our distributors who are successful, because as they become more successful, there'll be more challenges coming their way. So the conference is really about their sustainability. The conference is more about their structured growth, because even their next generation is joining businesses. Our generation is seeing the exit, but the next generation needs a guidance and support.
Addressing distributors at the ongoing Marketers and Distributors Conference here in Nairobi, Osho Chemicals Chairman Manoj Shah says the company will also expand its production line and increase its research on biopesticides while modernizing its production lines and make them more efficient and sustainable.
This conference serves as a platform for collaboration, learning and growth. It is an opportunity for us to come together, share insights, and strategize for the future.
Kenya's leading export market for pesticides are Ethiopia, Tanzania, Uganda, and Burundi.
And poultry farmers should vaccinate their broods against Newcastle and pleural pneumonia. Kenya Agriculture and Livestock Research Organization Vaccine Research Officer Judith Chimuliti says the two diseases have drastically affected poultry production in Kenya.
The University of Nairobi, Cooperative University of Kenya, and the Kenya Agricultural and Livestock Research Organization want to scale up vaccination of chicken against Newcastle and pneumonia diseases in the country. The initiative targets to make women as the focal point of the vaccination exercise.
A lot of the chicken are wiped out, and farmers have to start again from scratch. Yet this is something that can be prevented if the uptake of vaccination is really improved.
The biggest gap was between the agrovet and the farmers. Vaccines, yes, are in the agrovet, but farmers are not using them.
They say women have a greater role in poultry farming that generates about 7 billion shillings annually.
We find a lot of women having chicken but not using it to build themselves up or to empower themselves.
The project will mostly target indigenous poultry farmers.
Our research shows that the disease is endemic. The disease is almost there throughout the year in various different parts of the county.
The International Development Research Center funded program has so far seen 626 farmers trained on chicken husbandry, gender and group formation.
Sat them through a training, a few of the volunteers, taught them how to vaccinate, how to store the vaccines, when to vaccinate, the do's and don'ts of.
In addition, 124 community chicken vaccinators have been trained and 4 vaccine storage points in eastern counties established.
Benson Joba reporting for Prime Edition.
And that's the business news this evening. But of course, sports news is coming up with Karen Kibet. My name is Betty Kiptum. Do have yourself a lovely night. Bye-bye.
I can bet you that they're running up and down trying to solve this.
One of the biggest clearing and forwarding companies in East Africa is about to be hit by one of the biggest money scandals in the country.
I think we can use her.
Why do you want her?
You're not the one to decide who works here, Nick.
I think I am.
You should ask Mama Paul.
Is there anything I need to know?
You're the boss, right?
If you keep digging the wrong holes, you'll end up burying yourself. Well, let's fight.
You're sick.
Hey, what's happening?
No, never.
Eh?
Never.
Wewe nakuona ni mzee. Mbona una tabia kama za mtu haelewi nini anafanya?
Hapana, nasema no.
Na wewe mshtakiwa wewe. Unakubali mashtaka ama bado unakataa?
No, never. Between me and this young man, who sent you? Who sent you to you alone?
Ngoja, young man ni nani?
Kuna mahali wewe umetoa hata mishumari ama nyundo, nyumba sitengenezwe. Hapana, si ndio? Ngoja, shut up young boy. Kwa nini mmevaa jacket sinaenda kuwa nini? Hii ni expensive na hii is very cheap. Why?
Ukiangalia this is real leather.
This is the real weather. Yes. This is the real weather. Yako ni ya sungura. Okay. Kuja unusia nanuka ng'ombe. Kuja usikuja.
Welcome back. Let's now talk sports. My name is Karen Kibet.
Athletics Kenya, in conjunction with the National Olympics Committee of Kenya, have sent 2 teams to Gaborone, Botswana, to seek the 4x400 meters and the 4x400 meters mixed relays qualification standards at the track and field competition scheduled for tomorrow. The Kenyan teams are seeking qualifying times for the 2023 World Championship to be held in Budapest, Hungary next month. The men's 4x400 meters team comprises of Wiseman Were, Boniface Moresa, Kennedy Kimeo and Zablom Ekwam, while the mixed relays trialists include Ekwam, Kevin Tauta, Masi Okech, Maureen Thomas and Millicent Ndoro. Both teams are currently ranked 16th in the world, which is the last qualification slot for teams. African champion Ferdinand Omanyala is aiming to become the first Kenyan to win the 100 meters race at a Diamond League meeting when he takes on South Africa's Akane Simbine in the Monaco meet on Friday. Emmanuel Korir will face off with compatriot Wycliffe Kinyamal in the men's 800 meters.
Long hold there. Commonwealth Games champion Ferdinand Omanyala, who finished second in the 100 meters race in both the Rome and Paris meetings, will be facing South Africa's Akane Simbine, who won the Silesia meeting on Sunday.
Brilliant start there from Charleston in the white Fulton left, and he leads at the moment. Curley's got some work to do. I know he's going to get back to Charleston. I don't think he is. And Charleston, oh my word, it was really tight the line. It's such a close 100. Simbine is giving it. The South African has produced the goods.
American duo Fred Curley and Noah Lyles, who won the Rome and Paris legs of the Diamond League, will not take part.
Who's going to get it? It's Lyles, perhaps, just maybe by 100th or so. Lyles from Omanyala. Jacobs left, trailing.
In the men's 800 meters, world champion Emmanuel Korir will run against fellow Kenyans Emmanuel Wanyonyi and Wycliffe Kinyamal, while Simon Kiprop and Abraham Kibiwot will battle it out in the 3,000 meters steeplechase. In the 5,000 meters, Kenyan Jacob Krop will face Ethiopia's Sail Bekele and Uganda's Jacob Kiplimo.
This isn't a sprint, this is a battle of survival, and Krop is the man who's going to survive best of them all. Watch the clock, it's fabulously quick, it's the fastest.
Now to matters football, Donny van de Beek scored the only goal as Manchester United beat Olympique Lyon 1-0 to record their second pre-season friendly win. Eric Ten Hag's side will play Arsenal in their next match on Saturday.
But that's a bright start for United. In goes Hannibal. United trying to press high. Man's in here. Big chance. Puts it wide of the far post. 2 big chances for Manchester Sarr. Half a chance here as well. That's side netting. That's the best that we see.